All right, folks, if you're tuning into a civil debate, you have come to the wrong place. This is Backdoor Cover Week 5. Week 5? Question mark? Let's find out more about that with our good buddy, the forefather, the time traveler, John Mariano. How are you tonight, John?
I'm exhausted. I just watched two people talk for like an hour and a half, and one guy gave a fly COVID.
Yeah, I saw little bits and pieces of that.
Yeah.
That certainly was interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. I wouldn't. I love animals. I love all kinds of animals, especially insects. I would never try to give one COVID. It's messed up.
Yeah, that's pretty screwed up. But we're not here to talk about COVID or the presidential race. Thank goodness. We're here to talk about football. A lot of things up in the air when it comes to football, but what's not up in the air is how we're doing in our picks here. Like your president says, don't let your NFL pick'em pool scare you. Don't let it dominate you. We're here to help here at the Backdoor Cover. Me more than John, especially. I'm currently 38, 24, and 1. He made up a little bit of ground, though. Well, he's actually over 500 now for the first time, 32, 30, and 1. But still, the football guy comfortably ahead of the time traveler. Now, let's hear your latest excuse why you suck so bad picking games in week 4.
So, like I've told you, I travel and I change time.
Yes.
So I figured it out this week, right? I didn't go to the future. Monday Night Football ended, and I went to the past. I won a shitload of money. Right?
How much is a shitload?
I don't know, like $300.
$300. There you go. Hey.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I got every game right because I had the paper with me. So I just followed the box score and bet the games. So I was perfect last week.
Well, you know what? Instead of going to the future to do that, just follow my picks that I'm giving you before every week, and you'll win a shit ton of money too.
I mean, that sounds like a personal guarantee that you're going to actually do well this week.
Well, it's a personal guarantee I'm going to do better than you.
I've been time traveling. I'm busy. I can't watch the games like you.
I've beaten you every week is all I'm saying.
So far. It's a young season. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
It's only week 5, and there's a big question mark around week 5. John, maybe you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, you asked me to make the graphics, and I honestly wanted us to review week 4 because I could have gone perfect if we talked about week 4 today because I went back this week.
Yeah, well, I could also go because I pay attention to the highlights and what happened on Sunday. I didn't have to go back in time. I was just there and lived it.
Yeah, but the idea is that you didn't win as much money as me because I went back to win the money.
Right. You had the Sports Almanac and you went back in time, and pretty soon there's going to be a casino with your mug on it.
I didn't have a Sports Almanac. I had the Monday paper.
But still, so you put every dollar you had on the Cleveland Browns?
I did because I knew it was going to be a blowout after I watched it happen.
Right. So this isn't making you sound very smart.
I'm not. It doesn't sound smart to find out who wins the games and then go back and bet on them.
I guess it is. Yeah, $300 is $300.
I mean, I think Zach Anderson could tell you. Like, I went back and I bet against the Brewers to win in the postseason, and I won a shitload there too. Not really because I got terrible odds.
So how is this going to help you this week, John, in week number 5, being down 6 games to me here? What's your strategy leading into this uncertain week in the NFL? And remember the hashtag from Mr. Anderson, Corey always wins.
I'm going to blindly guess these games because like I said at the top of the show, I went back to win money this week because you and I, we don't bet. So I have nothing to lose other than pride. And anybody who knows me, I don't have much of that to begin with. So what are you going to do?
I listened to the last Are We Wearing Pants? I understand where John's pride is coming from, literally. All right, so let's get into our matchups here for week number 5. Yes, I agree. It is too soon. I listened to that show, and as happy as I wasn't there for the first half. I was actually kind of sad I missed the second half because you guys had some pretty good football talk going, even with the Tom Brady apologist, Mark Kameyer. Let's start off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady taking on the Chicago Bears. Tampa Bay currently favored by 5.5. John, who do you got?
I think that's crazy. right? Like they have like 4 days to get ready, and Tampa Bay is going in with no wide receiver core. Like everyone's hurt, right? Either everyone's hurt or nobody wants to play with Tom Brady. I'm not really sure.
Little from column A, little from column B.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they watch those dying ducks in the air and like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to sit this one out. I feel very strongly that the line is wrong. That there's no way Tampa Bay in a couple of days is getting ready to go face that defense with the shambles of offense that they have. Tampa Bay has a solid defense, but I think Nick Foles is still warming up with the offense. I think we're going to see there's more to come, better things to come out of them this week. And Chicago is not going to cover, going to win outright.
I'm going to go with the Bears as well to cover anyway. I don't know if they're necessarily going to win, but I think they can keep this to within a field goal. The line is 5.5. Like you said, there's nobody healthy in Tampa Bay in that receiving core. LaShawn McCoy, Leonard Fournette still banged up in the backfield for the Buccaneers. So I'm also going to go with you and take the Bears on that one to at least cover.
I just want to point out to everybody that Corey lacks the testicular fortitude to make a ballsy call and say the underdogs is going to win on Thursday night at home.
Because I don't think they are going to win on a Thursday night at home. I think it's going to be a really crappy game. And it's going to end up being like 13-10 for the Bucs.
Okay.
Let's go now to the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta, for some reason, 0-4, favored by 4.5. This is insane to me. I'm picking Carolina to win outright. 2-2, they're playing Matt Rule football. They're looking really, really good. Atlanta hasn't looked good since the first half of the Dallas game. So to me, this is Carolina in a walk. What are you thinking?
So Atlanta's looked good for parts of halves of some of the games they've played. Mm-hmm. Bridgewater looks like he's the real deal. I don't understand this line at all. There's nothing about this line that makes sense to me. Other than Matt Ryan's going to throw balls to himself all day and score touchdowns because everyone's hurt, right? This is another situation. That being said, I'm going to go with Atlanta.
Really?
I am. I think Gage has a big game this week. I'm a believer in Matt Ryan and the offense that eventually they're going to do enough to outscore their own defense. And I think that this is a week where they're going to do that.
I think Carolina is playing just so well as a team right now. They're going to roll in Atlanta. And this, I predict will be Dan Quinn's last game as head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. They got to let him go after he gets stopped by the Panthers this weekend. Next up, let's shift right to the Cardinals at the Jets. You love picking the Jets, John, for some god-awful reason I'll never understand. Right now, the line is Arizona by 6.5. Are you going with the Jets?
I don't know. Is Le'Veon Bell coming back this week?
He probably, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. So what I can tell you is I'm not crazy about how Drake has looked. I think that a lot of fantasy football players are banking on Edmonds being the savior of this team, and he decimated the Jets the last time he played the Jets. I can't find a reason to pick the Jets is my problem, right? I'm trying real hard to go, you know what? Because the minute I don't pick the Jets, they're going to screw me.
Yeah.
So in trying to help the Jets out, I'm going to go Cardinals. I'm going to go hard on the Cardinals this week.
to get the Jets over the hump. I love your sacrifice. I'm also going Cardinals just because they're a better team. Jets have the worst offense in football, tied for the worst offensive football with the other New York team. But they got nothing. Like DeAndre Hopkins is leading the league in catches. Arizona's lost 2 in a row. I think they're looking for a big bounce back game. And as luck would have it, they got it against the lowly New York Jets. How about Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals coming off their first win of the year, taking on the Baltimore Ravens? To me, I think it's going to be a while before Joe Burrow sees that second win.
I agree, but I do think the Bengals keep this close. I am a believer in this Bengals offense, and Lamar Jackson hasn't looked very Lamar Jackson-like yet this season. And I don't know if that's going to happen this week. I think the Ravens offense is kind of a mess right now. And the Bengals do enough to keep this close.
I should mention the line is Baltimore 13.5. So you're taking the Bengals to cover the spread here.
Yeah.
Which is very tempting. I am going to go Baltimore though, just because I have seen Lamar Jackson do some good things, and I think he struggles against the Chiefs of the world, but the Bengals aren't there yet. I think their defense is good enough to contain Joe Mixon, which will be enough, I think, to shut down the Bengals as the Ravens win by 17 or more. So I'm going to pick Baltimore and the points on that one. Let's go now to the Denver Broncos taking on the COVID-decimated New England Patriots. We don't even know if this game is going to happen, John, but if it is, who are you going to pick?
So this game is one of the reasons why I didn't go to the future this week, right? Like there are two games, and this is one of them, and the other one's even a bigger reason that I don't want to mess with this thing, right? Like I just watched a fly die on TV. I don't want to be like the fly.
Gotcha.
I think, I think the Patriots are a bit of a mess. The Broncos are not a sexy pick, but I think the Broncos do enough in this game to make Mark Kamara cry a little bit.
I wholeheartedly agree. The line is New England by 11.5. Ravens winning a bloodbath, I'm sure, hoping. But yeah, Patriots by 11.5. I think Broncos keep this close, especially with no Cam Newton. If it's Hoyer or Stidwell or whatever the hell his name is, they're not going to be able to put many points on the board. So I'm joining John in picking the Denver Broncos to cover the spread in that one. Next up, we have the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the lowly Houston Texans, who have just fired their head coach and GM, Bill O'Brien. I'm going to take this one first, John. Usually when a team fires a cancerous head coach, there's a little bit of a boost the next week. Romeo Crennel, who is now the interim head coach, is a very easy guy to play for. All the players love him. Jacksonville's a train wreck on the best of days. So I think Houston wins this one convincingly. Right now the line is Houston by 6. So I'm saying take the Texans and the 6 points against Jacksonville, who won their first game, and everyone went, ooh, Jacksonville, they're going to be good. And then they proceed to lose the next 3 in awful fashion. They can't rush the passer to save their life. So I'm going Houston all the way. John, who do you like?
So this is the story of two really terrible teams going in a similar direction. I think that everything says pick the Texans here. But when you have two bad teams, the chances are it's going to be under a touchdown difference. Whether this is a 3 or 4 point game, I think Minshew does enough to keep it tight, and Jacksonville covers, but it doesn't win the game.
No, I can see your point, and I can see that happening too. Something tells me Houston will have a little bit of a lift, especially offensively, without Bill O'Brien there, that they'll do enough to win this by more than a touchdown. But you very well could be right. That's a good pick.
Maybe if they had a better wide receiver.
Maybe. They're hard to come by, those top receivers, though, as Bill O'Brien, I'm sure, could tell you. Next up, the LA Rams taking on the Washington football team. Was there ever time the Jaguars? They did make the playoffs when Tom Coughlin was the head coach. Zach probably doesn't remember because he wasn't born yet.
Zach doesn't know who Mark Brunell is.
Yeah, exactly. Or Tony Baselli or any of those guys. Yeah. But let's get back to the Rams and the Washington football team. The good old WFT bench Dwayne Haskins made him third string, actually, for Kyle Allen. Really gave up on him nice and quick. Whereas the LA Rams had a bit of an issue with the Giants defense, but they shouldn't have that kind of issue with Washington, especially without Chase Young. So I'm saying pick the Rams in this one. The line on this one is Rams by 9. So this is kind of a tough one. Do you think Kyle Allen in the offense has enough to make up 9 points?
I don't understand the NFC East, right? Like the NFC East is playing cricket right now. Nothing makes sense in the NFC East. That being said, I'm not a believer in the Rams. Like I'm just not, because the Giants look like an actual football team against them, which was surprising. I don't think they know what's going on with their running game in LA. I think that's affecting their play option. I think they depend on that. I'm a believe of all of this. I'm the biggest believer on the running back on Washington, right? Like if you're asking me, like, John, pick somebody that you think is the most talented guy that you'd roll with in fantasy football of all these players, right? And it would probably be the receivers on LA, but I have no confidence that Goff's getting it to them. So I'm going Washington in this game.
Okay. Had it been Dwayne Haskins, I might have agreed with you with that 9-point spread, but I just don't know what Kyle Allen's going to bring. My head tells me he's been in the system before when he was in Carolina with Ron Rivera, so he should be an upgrade. But you just never know. And like you said, the NFC East is just a crapshoot at this point. So I am going to pick the Rams in this one, even with the 9-point differential. Let's now go to the the Las Vegas Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. Zach, the Raiders used to play in a town called Oakland, and then before that even, there were the LA Raiders way back.
Yeah, there were LA Raiders in Tecmo Bowl when you used to play Bo Jackson run up and down the field like this.
That's right. And Bo Jackson was the two-sport athlete who played running back for the Raiders and also played outfield, I believe it was, for the Kansas City Royals, was it not?
He did. But most importantly, there was a guy marketing himself. His name was Brian Bosworth, the Boz.
Yes.
And it was a Monday Night Football game where Brian Bosworth's self-marketing ended as Bo Jackson ran over him like a locomotive.
Yeah, that was pretty much the end of the Boz and his burgeoning movie career. Let's talk about the football game, though. The Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, the smart money says take the Chiefs. They're the best team in football. The spread is 12.5. Can the Raiders keep this one close enough and keep it within 12.5?
So the Raiders are starting to get some weapons back. Ruggs is back this week. He's been practicing. He's a burner. I think that makes a big difference to this Raiders offense. They were hyping this kid in preseason. He brings back the big play for them and puts that in play. And you need that against Kansas City. I don't think the Raiders are going to win this game. I think that it's going to look like a blowout. This game feels like a backdoor cover to me. Right? This feels like Kansas City late in the game starts letting off the gas pedal a little bit, lets the Raiders, offense do a little bit to kill time, kill clock, and it's within that. What is it, like 12 points?
12 and a half.
So yeah, so yeah, I think the Raiders backdoor cover this game.
I agree with you. I think the Raiders, like you said, Ruggs is in. They realized they had Darrell Waller, one of the better tight ends in the league, on their team last week. He got some touchdowns. Josh Jacobs is always a threat running the ball. Too many weapons, I think, maybe for Kansas City to deal with. I think Chiefs win the game, but they may only win it by a touchdown or maybe even by 10. So I am with you, and I am picking the Raiders to cover. All right, let's go move on now to the decimated Philadelphia Eagles taking on the very well-rested Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh had an unintentional bye last week, whereas Philly lost, I think, 18 more offensive linemen. I can't even keep count anymore. Lane Johnson, I know, is out now for the year or whatever. So this one, to me, screams no-brainer, especially when the line is only 7 in favor of Pittsburgh. I think you take the Steelers and the points.
Yeah. This is like I feel like this should be the 12.5 point game, right? And I would still take the Steelers at home. I know the Eagles only have like a short bus ride to get there. I don't think it matters. This Steelers team has had essentially 2 weeks to prepare for this game. As soon as they knew last week wasn't happening, they were prepping, and they don't need this much prep for the Eagles. Let's be serious.
It's going to be ugly.
It's not going to be pretty, guys. Like Zach Anderson is saying, the Ravens win the bloodbath. I think he's wrong on the Bengals. I think he's right on the Steelers. I know he didn't write the Steelers here, but we're going to pretend he did.
Okay. He would be right if he said the Steelers. I agree with you. They're going to win this one pretty convincingly. Here's an interesting matchup, though. I really like the Miami Dolphins playing pretty well as a team, taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Are they going with Beathard? Are they going with Mullins? I don't think it matters. I kind of like the Miami Dolphins in this one. The current line is San Francisco by 8, which to me is kind of crazy. I think Miami, at the very least, covers this one.
I said it at the beginning of the season that San Francisco is suffering this Super Bowl hangover. And this is one of those games that's going to show that, because you have an up-and-coming Dolphins team going on the road, and you're thinking, oh, it's the Dolphins, and this should be a layup win. You see the 8-point spread, 8.5-point spread, and you're like, I'm going to give the points. And that's a huge mistake, because the Dolphins win this game outright.
Yeah, they really are. So we both agree on that one. Let's move now to the Indianapolis Colts and the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland winning at Dallas and stomped them. Showed up that defense in Dallas, one of the worst in the league right now for giving up points. Whereas Indianapolis, their defense played pretty decent against the Chicago Bears. Of course, it helped that they were playing the Chicago Bears. Now they got to play a little better offense in Cleveland. Right now, Indianapolis, for some reason, favored by 2.5. Who do you like in this one?
I like the Colts. Like, I know we talked about this a little bit before the game. I tried to play the poker face. Everyone's looking at Kareem Hunt and what is it, his groin or whatever that's been bugging him as a good suitable replacement for Chubbs, and he's not. Like, I don't think he is. I know Cleveland wants to run the ball. I know they have the best ball. I think the Colts have a better team, and the Browns are sailing high after that win against the Cowboys. I think that's one of the highlights of their season, and the Colts go ahead and beat the Browns, who are probably celebrating a little bit too much this week.
Okay, well, I'm picking the Browns in this one just because I think they're maybe a little better team than the Colts. If the Colts win this one, they're going to start convincing me. I haven't seen anything yet to put them as a contender in the woeful AFC South, whereas Cleveland, got the ball to Odell Beckham, which is something they hadn't done in 2 years in Cleveland. Paid off very well for them. They still got Duke Johnson as well as Kareem Hunt running the ball, so I still think they can run on Indianapolis effectively enough to open up Baker Mayfield in that play-action pass. And I just like Kevin Stefanski's offensive scheme. So I'm going to pick the Browns in this one, especially with the Colts favored by 2.5. I think Cleveland wins it outright. Let's move on now to the New York Giants are going into Dallas to take on the Cowboys. And Cowboys are favored by 9.5. John, I'm going to let you take this one first.
It's weeks like this I miss Eli, right? Like I would even with the crappiest New York team, I would be certain the Giants were going in there to cover and spoil Dallas's day. Yeah. I'm less so this week, but the defense did show me a lot last week, right? And they've definitely shown me more than the Cowboys defense has shown me all year. So while I don't like the Giants that much in this game, and Dallas has probably the best offense by the end of the year of any team the Giants or any other team is going to see. Dak Prescott's going to throw for an ungodly amount of yards this year. I think the Giants keep it tight. And I'm going with the Giants.
The Giants covered for us last week against the Rams. I'm tempted to pick them again to cover this week against the Cowboys with a 9.5-point spread. They got to figure out something offensively in New York. Like, this is a really bad defense in Dallas. They could maybe get something rolling. Get Danny throwing dimes again downfield. I think he only attempted 2 passes over 20 yards last week, and Golden Tate dropped probably half of them. But I'm with you. I'm thinking, I'm thinking with my heart, maybe more with my head when I'm saying the Giants cover.
I think Ingram throws a couple of touchdown passes this week. I think that's the solution, right? Like, you just give the most talented players the ball and just hope they do something with it.
There you go. Maybe we're bleeding blue a little bit too much on that one, but we're both picking the Giants to beat the spread on that one. How about the Vikings and the Seahawks? Vikings kind of looked like the Vikings last week against the Houston Texans. Whereas Seattle won again. They're 4-0. They're favored by 7. Can they do enough to beat the Vikings by more than 7?
I have no doubt Seattle's going to win this game. I've stated that Seattle's a tough place to go travel, and I think they're going to cover most of their games at home this year. That being said, their defense is almost as bad as the Cowboys defense, right? Like, I'm not a believer in I think you can pass on them. I think Thielen and Jefferson are going to have big games this week, and keep it close enough. The Vikings might actually pull this one out. I'm going Vikings.
They might, and actually, I'm glad you mentioned Jefferson. He was kind of my key to the game because his last 2 games have been phenomenal, and they're getting him the ball. I expect them to do big things against Seattle. And like you, I expect them to cover and possibly win this one outright. So I'm also going with the Vikings. And now we go with the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans. That was actually off the schedule, right, John?
So we're not sure what's happening with this game. They haven't officially pulled it yet. NFL is very mad at the Titans because they haven't followed any of the COVID protocols. A lot of guys are not feeling it right now. And the Bills are uncomfortable traveling to Tennessee. There's actually talk of a forfeit, in which case I feel very confident in picking the Bills. Because at the very least, Tennessee is going to be forced to put players on the field who are probably like me and you, right? Like we might actually get phone calls this week to be like, hey, can you play running back for the Titans? And I'm like, is there any money in it for me? Because I like money. And we'll get decimated by the Bills, though.
I would do it for free hoagies. I don't even need to get paid. Free hoagies is good with me, but we would. And yeah, absolutely. I would go with the Bills on that one too, if that game happens. Now, John, we don't have a graphic for the last game of the week. So I'm just going to put up this this generic one here. It's the LA Chargers taking on the New Orleans Saints. Saints favored by 7.5. Who do you like in that one?
Oh, I made a graphic. I must have. I forgot it.
That's all right.
No, the game doesn't really matter.
No.
So the Chargers are another team that lost a running back this week, and I can confidently say that I have no confidence in the Chargers' offensive line. I think the Saints are all beat up, but the Saints have enough to beat the Chargers.
Yeah, and I agree. I would say look at what Tom Brady did against that LA secondary. Old noodle arm, was able to get 5 touchdown passes on him. And Mark will tell you that his arm is super strong. I'll just say 80% of those throws were checkdowns, which is a throw I could make. No, I don't buy that.
And I believe in Traquan Smith, right? Like,
yeah,
there's enough talent on the offensive side of the ball. And as much as I like Herbert, right? On the Chargers, I like him, but I don't think he's ready to go win a game like this, where he just lost his All-Pro running back, right?
Yeah, and Saints got something rolling a little bit against the Lions, so I think Drew Brees, who does have a stronger arm than Tom Brady, is going to have a field day against the Chargers in this one. So I say take the Saints and the points at 7.5.
So when you say he has a stronger arm than Tom Brady, I'm imagining, the Predator handshake, where like Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers, they shake hands and his biceps. So I'm picturing that, but like Drew Brees is either Carl Weathers or Schwarzenegger, and then like I go in for the other handshake, right? And it's like I'm Tom Brady, right?
You remember in the Popeye cartoons before he had a spinach, you'd make a muscle and it would like droop down below?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it would look like. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you say a noodle arm, just to make it clear to Mark, you don't mean like the dry noodles, like the strong noodles that come out of the box. Mm-hmm. You mean like the overcooked, not even al dente, but like I'm holding it up and it's doing one of these. Wait, like I have this and it does like one of these. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's like that. That's Tom Brady's arm.
When he throws a deep pass, he has to chuck it as high as he possibly can because he can't get it downfield. Then the receivers stop and they run back to it.
So ironically, do you know what they call that in football?
What?
A floater.
Okay.
You know what else I call a floater?
What else?
Whatever's left in the bowl when I'm done.
And on that note, let's call it a show here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us this week. Join us again next Wednesday night as we review. There is a fly in my soup, yes. We're going to review Week 5 and talk about Week 6, and we'll see if any of these games actually even happen in Week 5. But on behalf of my good buddy John Mariano, my name is Corey Morissette. Thank you very much for joining us this week, and we will see you next time.